Hello there, stamping friends. It's Jackie Bolhuis from Klompen Stampers. Today, I'm going to make a card with you and show you a second one using the Daisy Garden stamp set. Well, it's not really a stamp set because there's only one stamp in it. So do we call it a stamp set or is it just a stamp? I don't know. Anyhow, it's big. It's the size of a background stamp. It would make a great background stamp as well, but we're going to use it as the focal point. Now, because it's so big, I have found I like using the Stamparatus. It makes it so much easier with these big stamps to not only be able to hold it, because they're kind of big to hold those big blocks, but also to get a good image. You know, the nice thing about the Stamparatus is if you don't get a good stamping, the first time, you didn't ink it good, you didn't put good pressure or whatever, you can just redo it as many times as you need to get that really good dark crisp image that you want. So I'm going to show you how to do that with the Stamparatus. We're also going to do some heat embossing, and I'll show you how to do that as well. I do it a lot. I don't always show on video how to do it, so every once in a while I like to throw that in there to show you how easy it is to heat emboss. So kind of a lot going on today with one simple card. Now quick, before we flip the camera down, thank you for those of you that are my subscribers and watch me every week. I appreciate you so much, and I love reading all of your comments and when you let me know what you think of the projects. If you're brand new and you're finding my videos for the first time, welcome. I am all about quick and easy card making. All of my videos are filled with lots of stamping tips that will apply not only to the card I'm making, but to help you make quick and easy cards with all of your stamping. So if you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would love to be your demonstrator, and I'd love to send you a catalog if you'd want one. In the description, right down there, in the description of this video, will be a link to my website. Actually, it'll go to the specific blog post, and over there you can request a catalog. Now, being the blog post, it will also have pictures of the projects I share with you today, as well as all the cutting directions and all the supplies I use. So I try to make it real easy for you to recreate these cards if you'd like to. And then if you'd like to order anything, you can do that over there as well. So I think that's enough talking. Let's flip the camera down and let's get to creating. Hold on. So here's our stamp we're going to use. It's called Daisy Garden. And like you can see, it's one big giant stamp. And this is where ones that I really like to use the Stamparatus, because you put it on that big block, it's kind of hard to hold it, but more so, it's kind of hard to get a really good image without, kind of missing some pressure on one side. So I'll show you how the Stamparatus really helps with that. Now, we're going to go ahead, and I like to actually stick my stamp case underneath my Stamparatus instead of this being at an angle. I think it's a little easier to ink stuff up that way. Now, I have a piece of Whisper White, Basic White. I still say Whisper White. And I like to just start with a full sheet or partial sheet, but something, way bigger than I need. And we'll end up trimming this, and then we'll just have it for scrap paper later on. Now, so I'm going to put it on here nice and tight up in this corner, flush at the top and the side, and then we're going to take our stamp and we're going to lay it on there. Now, I want to make sure, and the stamp's clean right now, but I want to make sure I've got ample space on both of the edges to help get a good image. And then we'll close this up and pick up that stamp. So now we know the placement. That's just kind of how, rather than plopping it right on here, now I know it's going to stamp where I want it to. So always keep this cardstock nice and tight up in the corners. And then we're going to take our ink pad and we're going to ink this up good. So we got the polished pink here. Oh my goodness, I love this pink. I feel like finally we have the perfect, nice pink. Ink it up and then go ahead and close this. And now we're going to give it some good pressure. It's big. Stamparatus helps, but we still have to put pressure all the way around. And then when I open it up, you'll see what generally happens. I didn't have enough pressure over on this inside edge, but that's okay. That's the beauty of using the Stamparatus. Now, again, make sure this is nice and tight up there in that corner, but I can close it and now I can come back and I can put pressure where I need it. If you were doing this on a block, you wouldn't be able to come back and get this second stamping like I did. And we still missed a spot. Now, chances are we might not have had that inked really good in that spot. So we're going to just go ahead and re-ink it. Now with this image, when I made my first sample to kind of decide how I was going to create this card, I actually double stamped it even though I had a good image already, because it just made it darker. And I think just a little bit more inky when we're doing just a line image, and it's a pretty small line image, that double stamping extra ink on there just made it look really nice, I thought. Okay, hopefully we got the inside. I'm still missing that part. That little bugger does not want to stamp. Let's make sure we get some good pressure right there. There we go, finally. And see, you can see how those flowers just, they have a lot more oomph to them, a lot more color. I kind of got the edge of the stamp a little bit there, but that's okay because we're gonna trim that off. So let's set that aside. Now, like I said, I started with a piece bigger than I needed, just so I'd have all this extra room. And then we're gonna go ahead and take the paper trimmer and cut this down to 3 3/4 by 5. So let's make sure we get our little boo-boo off there. We'll see if that will go there. So 3 3/4 is the size that I want my card to be. So we'll go 3 3/4 that way. See, I have a whole piece here I can use for something else. And then it's going to be 5 this way. So I'm going to trim this side off first. I'm still in the view there because I don't want the flowers coming off the edge, but I do want the bottom to come off the edge. So there we go. There is our stamped layer. And this should mat real nicely on a piece of black. Ooh, pink and black. I love pink and black. So let's go ahead and adhere this on here. So this would be 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. Now remember, these measurements will all be over my blog post. Just follow the link in the video description and you will get all my measurements. Okay, so there is that. Now the next thing we want to do is add our greeting. Let's get our pink out of here so we don't put anything in it we don't want. And we're gonna heat emboss our greeting, and we'll be using a stamp, we're gonna do thanks so much, that is in the Inspired Thought stamp set. A lot of great versatile greetings in that one. And we're going to do it on a piece of basic black, and we're gonna emboss in white. I love that look. That white and black just really pops. So for heat embossing, now I don't always show this on camera, but I thought this would be a good chance once in a while I throw it in. So if you've never heat embossed, you'll see how that works. Now when you're using colored cardstock and white embossing powder, well, any colored embossing powder actually, we want to make sure it doesn't stick where you don't want it, and then you get all those funny little dots. So I have a little tool here called the Embossing Buddy. I just rub it on there. Unfortunately, Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell these anymore. You might be able to find them someplace online. Just Google Embossing Buddy. Otherwise, a dryer sheet will work as well. You can take a dryer sheet, and it can be brand new or used, and rub it across there. Because really what you're doing is removing the static. Because it's static that extra embossing powder sticks where you don't want it. And then we're going to just go ahead and stamp our greeting. We're using Versamark, so you don't see it. It's a clear ink, and it's kind of sticky. And that allows your embossing powder to stick to that ink because it's slow drying. You can see I almost feel like I got a little bit of white where it's not supposed to be. Tap it, give it a little blow, it'll come off. And then go ahead and take your heat tool. And this, when you first turn it on, it's going to have to warm up a little bit. But as and hopefully you'll be able to see this, you want to move it around. You'll see it's, oh, there we go. See how it's starting to turn shiny down here on the T? And then as we move this, keep moving it. As it gets shiny, move it because you can overheat it. So once it's shiny, stop. Because if you go too much, it'll kind of flatten it out and lose its shine, and it won't be as nice looking. So there is that. So our next step then, I'm going to go ahead. I just have a stitched rectangle die that fits this perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and go cut this out using my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I shall be right back. There we go. So let's see, set that aside, and then let's grab some dimensionals. Oh, yep, the regular ones fit. Otherwise I'd have to grab the minis. And here's what we started. So let's go ahead and peel those off. And I'm going to just stick this down here on the bottom. So it is a very simple looking card, but that pink and black just stands out. I have a card base that is basic white thick. Whenever I use white for a card base, I like to use the thick. It's just got a little bit more substance to it. And this one I do have cut at 11 4/4, or 4 1/4. So it opens up that way. So there is our easy thank you card. Now let me show you something else I did with the same stamp set. I made a tiled card. Again, I started, here's a base, here's the other half of that 11 by 4 1/4 thick. But I started with I stamped it the same way. And then I cut it down to 3 by 3 3 by 3 3/4. Goodness. So it's 3 this way and 3 3/4 this way. Then I cut it into 1-inch strips and cut these pieces into 1 1/4. Now I will tell you, it was a little tricky. As I cut them, I laid them out into like a puzzle, because you want to make sure they stay in the same order, so it just kind of completes your picture. Then I just stuck them on with dimensionals underneath each piece. Now a little tip there, I started at the top with the middle one and then went to the left and to the right, and then same thing, the middle, left to the right, and kind of worked to try to get even spacing all the way around. So there's that card. So there's 2 different ideas. They're stamped the same way. This one I just cut the pieces apart, and then here is my thank you card. The sending healing thoughts your way is also from that same inspired thoughts. So like I said, great greetings there. So once again, there's a link down into the video description that'll take you to the blog post. I'll have pictures of both of these along with all the cutting directions and dimensions for you and the complete list of supplies I use. If you'd like to order any of these, you can just click on the shop now, order your products. Don't forget to use my host code. I love to reward my frequent shoppers with free stamp sets. You can earn points towards a free stamp set. Check out on my website where it says rewards to read all about that. And as always, make sure to reach out to me if you have any questions or I can help you in any way. I love to help and teach people to make quick and easy cards. But remember, quick and easy doesn't mean they have to be boring. They can still be cute cards, or at least I think so, and I hope you do too. So until I stamp with you again, have a stamp happy day.